Looking in my mirror, not a jacker in sight.
Echo, stop music, please. Hey guys, it's Wahima, but just call me Wah. Melanated! All right, so are we going to talk about this? I think we should talk about it. Let's talk about something controversial. I haven't talked about a controversial topic in a long time. I watched Dave Chappelle's special on Netflix, Sticks and Stones. This is the second special in a 3 special deal that he got with Netflix for $60 million. Now, the first one got him some backlash because of the things he said about the trans community and other communities. And you know that nursery rhyme, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. The idea is that when you say something, it's not going to ever hurt you because it isn't something physical, right? But when those words turn into sticks and stones, i.e., let me just use in this example, the trans community, that does and can lead to sticks and stones. Especially in the Black community, our trans brothers and sisters are dying. They are marginalized, they are uncared for, and they are dying. There's a lot of things I want to talk about when I talk about this idea of celebrity, this idea of being a bard or being our culture's or our society's entertainment, specifically comedians and not actors, right? Unless they are the playwright. And back in the day when we had bards, they were the storytellers, they were the story writers, they were the listeners, they picked up on gossip, they picked up on the culture and the pulse of the city and the community, and they went around and they shared those stories. And sometimes they made them into anecdotes with positive endings, they made them into fables, they made them into, stories that you can listen to and somehow get a lesson from. And I think that comedians now are our modern day bards. And I think that there needs to be a certain amount of space given to them to allow them to say what they want to say without having to financially hurt themselves. This special was a reaction to the reaction from the community, from the audience, from the society. And it's not everybody in the society. It's those marginalized people that are being talked about and having jokes made about them. Now, part of me thinks if this were a white comedian like Jeff Foxworthy, he were saying things about immigrants and he were saying things about Black people that the pulse of his community feels, I would say that there is a problem with that. And the reason why I say that there's a problem with that, and I would be upset with that, and I would want Jeff Foxworthy to lose all of his money, is because he is talking to a constituency that has direct power on whether or not I live. And there are a lot of people out there who would disagree with me on that, and that's fine. However, as a minority, I see the advantages of being a white person in America, regardless of your social economic class or status. But let's jump right into some of the things that I definitely wanted to touch on. I've been seeing a lot of criticism of Dave Chappelle from Black women and the Black community, or Dave Chappelle is making fun of suicide. I realize is that Dave Chappelle is making fun of those things because we are told that we're not supposed to make fun of those things. And I think that to a certain extent we shouldn't. Those issues are very serious. But I do think that this man should be allowed to say what he wants to say and not have his whole career and everybody that he's taking care of ruined because of it. Now, suicide is a sad and terrible thing, and it affects us as a society, and it's horrible, right? Especially if you're close to it. And just, I've been close to it. I'm close to it. So I don't think that Dave Chappelle was making fun of suicide as a whole. I think that it's a hard topic to talk about. It's a scary topic to talk about. And I think that he trivialized it in order to make people laugh about it. And so that it becomes a topic that can be spoken about. Because I think once you can laugh about something, you can then begin to talk about it. I don't think he was poking fun of the person who committed suicide. I don't think he was poking fun of the person who worked at, Foot Locker. I think he was just making an analogy or making a comparison that maybe wasn't the most perfect comparison to be made, but it was a comparison that made people laugh. It didn't necessarily make me laugh, and I'm not going to hold it against him and hope that something terrible happens to him or feel like he needs to be canceled because of it. Like, no, not at all. He made fun of pedophilia, Michael Jackson, and I can't even watch that special. I feel bad because I was able to watch the R. Kelly special, but I could not watch men talk about what Michael Jackson did to them as boys because I'm somebody who's inclined to believe the victim, and I want to believe the victim. And if I watch that, I think that my love and adoration for Michael Jackson would have superseded me wanting to believe them. I choose to believe the victims in both scenarios, right? And I choose not to cancel one and I choose to cancel the other, but mainly because I didn't like the other to begin with anyway. Like that whole 12 minutes of him talking about Michael Jackson and the pedophilia, like fucking disgusted me. I thought it was disgusting. I thought it was out of taste. I hated it. Okay. But that doesn't mean that I think that he should be canceled. it wasn't for me. Right? And if the words of David Chappelle directly link to somebody killing or hurting somebody in any of the communities that he made fun of, I do think that at that point, there needs to be a conversation to be had about it. But at this time, I don't know that that is true. And I don't know that it is necessarily his responsibility as an individual to curb what he says because of that. I think it's censorship. Dave Chappelle is not a politician. I don't think he's held to the same standard. He's not a civil servant. He's not a public servant. His only service to the public is making us laugh and bringing joy to our lives. And if it doesn't bring joy to some people's lives, I understand that and I get it. I don't necessarily think that he should be canceled or he should have his source of income taken away because of it. I mean, and I know it's not going to happen to Dave Chappelle. Like, it's not going to. He's not going to lose his fan base. There's not going to be a Bill Cosby situation, a Harvey Weinstein situation about him because he's making jokes. But I do think that if he were somebody like Kevin Hart, which he did bring up in his special, that when you get to a certain echelon of celebrity, you are censored to a certain extent because you do have such a vast reach that when you say something, the weight of what you say changes. But do I think that those comedians deserve to have 10 years or 15 years of their tweeting lives brought up and disrupted and cause problems for their current life? And then for other people to demand that they say that they're sorry about that? I don't think so. If you choose to say you're sorry, I think you should say you're sorry. If you don't want to apologize for something that happened 10 years ago, then don't apologize for it. And I don't think that there should be any sort of financial deficit to that. But he ended up having to do it because he has people on his payroll and he would severely lose money based on him not apologizing for it. I just don't agree with it. And mainly because I'm somebody who wants to be a celebrity. And I don't agree that you should be able to go back in my timeline and find out something very stupid that I say and then bring it to me as though I'm a racist or I'm a sexist or I'm a homophobe or whatever. Especially when the body of work that I have done since then has proven that I am not that. And people make mistakes. But I mean, if a tweet or something were to be brought up, I would apologize anyway. Like, who cares? Because if I didn't mean to say it, if I didn't mean it that way, then I definitely would say, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say it. I thought it was funny, except for those, 12 minutes and some other parts that I were just a little bit like, ooh, he's going to get in trouble for that. Yikes. I thought that he brought up some points and we get to see his perspective and how he feels. I don't agree with everything. I don't agree with a lot of it. I found myself laughing against my will. There's something that he said that hit me really hard that I actually was like, I agree with that. And it's the opioid epidemic versus the crack epidemic and how we are dealing with the opioid epidemic versus how we dealt with the crack epidemic. And that's something that I think is indicative of our country in general, which is why I think that if it were a white comedian saying negative things about immigrants and saying the things about black people or brown people, then we would have an issue. You're allowed to fight for your humanity. I think you're allowed to fight for your rights, but I don't know that that fight needs to take down every person who might have said something about it at some point in their career, trying to be funny or trying to make it. All right, you guys, so that's the end of this video. Let's have a kiki and a conversation down below. Am I totally wrong? Then go on ahead and write it down below. Let's have a conversation. Let's be peaceful. Let's talk this out like adults, thinking human beings. All right. Don't forget to check out my merch down below. Remember to be you, be true, and find your place. Bye. That is to say that I don't condone everything that he said or think that it should be made as gospel or that it's okay. If that hurts you, if it hurts your person, if it makes you sick and you want to write a letter or you want to write a tweet, go on ahead and do so. You're allowed to. But I don't think we need to bring that person down.